super excited for this celebrity chat, which is also one of my book recommendations. And I tried 3 times to get this interview, and I finally got the green light. Okay, if you don't know yet, let me give a proper introduction. Academy Award-winning actor, father, husband, and author. And my favorite part, he's from Texas. Welcome, Mr. Matthew McConaughey. Hello, sir.
Good. How you doing, Jen? Hey, thanks for having me. I like the introduction. Yes, I am from Texas. Born in Uvalde, raised in Longview, school in Austin. Yes, indeed.
This time last year, you and your family were actually surprised everybody down in Uvalde, didn't you? With the Chamber of Commerce event.
Yeah. That's right. We took Mom down there, got both my brothers together. Went down there. We like to look for a reason to get down to South Texas. And that was good to go back home, see some old friends that, I saw ones that knew my mom and dad, that were friends with mom and dad. Some of them that were friends with my dad since he's passed away in '92. Then I saw some of my oldest brother friends, then my middle brother friends. Very few of my friends, but people that I knew, extended families. So, it's also fun going back and you see your house you live in. When you all go back to a kid, you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
And in that room that was so huge, I mean, everything is shrunk.
I agree.
That room, I thought that was a football field. No, actually, I have to duck, and it's about 20 feet long. Yeah.
In his book, Greenlights, Matthew shares stories growing up in Uvalde with his parents and 2 older brothers. Every so often, he still finds inspiration on those Texas roads.
When I'll go on road trips to go write or prepare for a character, I always try to plan them where I can sneak through those towns and stay a day or 2 and have a little look and swing through as a stranger. But I also like to, if I can go in like this, and I like looking back and going, oh yeah. It reminds me. I go back to Uvalde. I'm like, yeah, we grew up in in a rancher's town. We were out here. This is where I learned 4-H. Oh yeah, this is beautiful down here. You got the rivers, the spring-fed rivers, which we went and swam in. Oh yeah, I remember. I learned to swim in the Frio after the Llano, and then I go to Longview and I see how it grew, and I go back to that place. I try to find that treehouse that I built. It's not there. I don't know where it is, but I dream about it. I think about it. Wow, this place has grown.
I heard San Antonio in there. I listened to your audiobook, and I also have this copy as well. You mentioned a few auditions, right? That you went to San Antonio. Did you get those auditions? I was wondering, or did you?
I would go. They used to have a lot of music video auditions. So I'd be in class at UT. My pager would go off and go, "Can you be in San Antonio for a Dwight Yoakam video read in 2 hours?" And I'd be like, "Boop, boom," in the car, head down, hop out, do an audition. I didn't get it. I didn't get most of those.
But long before music video auditions here in the Alamo City, little Matthew would venture to San Antonio. And those visits were a little more painful than an audition rejection.
Dr. Rosenberg, if you're out there, we would go visit. We would drive from Uvalde to Dr. Rosenberg. I had tubes in my ears 7 times. And so I would have to get them pulled. And that was the road trip to San Antonio from Uvalde when I was a young kid. And I remember my mom saying, look, to get these tubes pulled, that's going to hurt a lot. We can kind of put you under, but it'll cost like $500. Or if you just sit in the chair, real still, and go through the pain, he can do it for like $150. And the deal was, you go, if you do it for $150 and save us the money and go through the pain, I'll get you a TCBY yogurt on the way home. And so that was hard.
Wow.
I'd get pulled, I'd cry, but I'd get a yogurt on the way home.
Oh my gosh, I love your mom, by the way. All the stories with your mom. I don't know if most people, if they haven't read the book already, I love the story of the all right. So if you don't mind sharing with our viewers how that came to be.
Yes, so check this out. As you know, I get cast in Dazed and Confused because I went to the right bar, right time, introduced myself to the right guy. I come to the set of Dazed and Confused one night. I'm doing a hair and makeup and wardrobe test, meaning I'm not supposed to work that night. It means the actor that's gonna work later, which I was supposed to work a week later, I show up, I go through hair, makeup, wardrobe. I step out of the trailer. When the director, Richard Linklater, has time, he walks over offset, looks you up and down, gives some notes, approves, disapproves, whatever, and he says, see you later, and you come back to work next week. Well, this night, I step out, Rick comes up, looks at me, yeah, like this. All right, cool. Later, and he goes, hey, hang on a second. He goes, you think Wooderson, the character I was playing, He's like, you think Wooderson would be interested in the redheaded intellectual girl? And I was like, oh, yeah, man. Wooderson likes all kinds of chicks, right? So he's like, well, Marissa Ribisi's over here. She's playing Cynthia, the redheaded intellectual. She's sitting at the top-notch drive-thru with her kind of nerdy friends. Maybe Wooderson pulls up and tries to pick her up. And I'm like, sure, man. Well, next thing I know, I'm in the car getting mic'd up, about to shoot my first scene where there's not a line written. Okay, but there she is. There's the redheaded intellectual. I'm going to pull up and go pick her up. There's no lines, but let's just do what I do. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. So I'm going over in my head, who is my man? Who's Wooderson, right? What am I about? And I said, Wooderson is about his car. And I'm like, well, I'm in my 1970 Chevelle. There's one. I said, Wooderson's about rock and roll. I said, well, I got Ted Nugent Stranglehold in the 8-track. There's two. I said, Wooderson's about getting high. I said, well, I got Slater, who's always got a doobie rolled up riding shotgun. There's three. And that's when I hear action. And I look up at Cynthia, the redheaded intellectual, who I'm going to pull up and try to pick up. And in my head, I say, and the fourth thing I'm about is picking up chicks. And I said, I got 3 out of 4. Put it in drive. All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Oh, Christ. How you doing? Going to get the 4th. That was it. So that was where that came from. It was 3 affirmations of what my character had on the way to go get the 4th. First 3 words I ever said on film.
That's amazing. And like you said in the book, people have this tattooed, they have it on shirts, and that has to feel, how do you feel about that?
Well, some people go, do you get tired of it? I'm like, hell no, I don't get tired of it. For that reason. This is the first 3 words I said in film in 1992 on improvised on the first day on a job that, hell, I didn't know if that was going to be like a one-off. Like I would be a lawyer right now going, oh, I remember back in 92, that was really fun. I got that little acting gig in that film called Days of Fuse, my one and only time I ever got to do it. Well, it turned out to be much more than a hobby. Yeah. It turned out to be a career for me. Right. So here I'm doing it 28, 29 years later, so it's pretty cool when people say it because I'm like, whether they know it or not, I'm saying you're calling back to the very first 3 words I ever said on the very first day of what turned out to be a career for me.
I love that. I love that story.
All right, all right, all right.
If you read the book, you know the story in Greenlights about Matthew's experience as an exchange student with a rather unusual family in Australia. First one, the Australian family, the Dooleys. Did they ever reach out to you after you reached your fame? I was curious.
We have reached out every time I do press in Australia or even via satellite. So I'd be talking to, say, like you're in Australia right now, and you're the Australian press, hey, g'day, Matthew, and they'd be like, every time they go, we got some great friends of yours here, and all of a sudden, someone would lean in the screen, and it'd be Mr. Dooley, and I'd be like, hey! Or they'd pull up, and every, an interview in Australia, they'd start pulling up scrapbook pictures. Hey, here's a picture of you with the Dooleys, and I was always like, yeah, that was me, I was there. So they would either be in studio or send in photos of me with them when I do Australian press. So they always reached out. Mrs. Dooley has since passed away.
You amaze me, true detective. I mean, how do you get into these characters? A Time to Kill, one of my favorites. Yeah, how is it that you're able to go there?
So, I mean, you start off just taking, it starts off with the written word. If it's a good script and a really well-written character, for instance, True Detective, I originally got offered the role of Marty Hart that Woody played. But the guy who I wrote down, I can't wait to hear what comes out of his beeping mouth every time I turn the page, was Rustin Cole. So I'm reading and I'm going, whoa, I was shocked by what was coming out of his mouth. Got tingles and I was like, this guy has identity. Mm-hmm. This guy, so I don't go in judging a character. I really try to look for identity. Someone who has a really strong identity. I'm usually attracted to sort of outcast. If you look over the last 12 years of dramas, I like the outcast, the person who's making up their own rules, or the outlaw that's in the slipstream. And so I go by the text. I look at what is given me. I see what they're about. I see what that reveals to me what they're not about, and then. If it's a really good character, it's not as much about acting as it is about just behaving. My work with, say, Rustin Cole and True Detective is I just work to understand what the hell's he talking about. Because even if you don't know, or Woody's character doesn't know, I need to know. I better know what the hell's coming out of my mouth and what I mean. And if I understand what I'm talking about, and what my character means, then I don't have to really be acting per se. If I just say the words truthfully, they can be more shocking than if I really tried to make them sound like they mean something.
Your mom, and her relationship with Camilla, I love, by the way.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Let's start with that, because I see Camilla dyeing your mom's hair, and you guys have been hunkering down together. How's that been?
Well, pretty good. I mean, it has its challenges. I think everyone knows that if they, in some fashion, it's at least been awkward to everyone having to hunker down to whatever extent anyone's quarantining out there. We chose to go get my mother out of the retirement community about 10, 11 months ago. Brought her in. So it's her, myself, Camilla, and our 3 kids, and now 4 dogs. So when I always said I wanted 8 kids, my whole family said, well, now you got 8. So you got Mom, you got Levi, Livingston, Vita, and 4 dogs. Well, it's not really 8, but it is 8. It's a lot. Look, the trick with Mom is this. As long as she's got a book to read and a cold glass of Kendall Jackson at 5:30, she's easy. But boy, don't run out of books and don't run out of KJ. You run out of those 2, it's hell around the house. It's neat. Her and my wife, Camilla, her daughter-in-law, have really struck up a nice friendship. You know, and it was Camilla's idea. Mom's 89. She got a hell of a lot of energy. I don't think she's going anywhere soon, good Lord willing. But Camilla goes, I think your mom, who's such a great personality and comfortable in front of the camera, I think she might dig if I start bringing her into my shows of Women of Today and stuff. And we always talk about, relevance. We all want to be relevant, right? And maybe will Mom enjoy putting something out? And damn, does she enjoy it. Mom's the one that comes up afterwards and goes now to Camilla. So what were the comments like? So what'd they say? Can you show me? Can you send me some of those? Oh, I like the good ones. So Mom, she's digging it. She's 89 and she's feeling current, which is from interviewing the eldest and healthiest people in the world. That's part of growing older and living longer, is feeling current. Whether it's reading the news every day, or whether it's your grandchildren giving you new clothes that make you up to date, or like Camilla's doing with my mom, hey, be a part of this, and look, you're having an exchange with the public, and the public says something back. And she's great, and she's funny in front of the camera and loves to do it. She's actually the bigger diva than anybody else in the family.
I love watching her and Camilla together. And your dad, let's end with that one. I know that there's lots of moments in the book where he's giving you these words of wisdom and advice and things that you've carried on. Are you passing that along now as a father?
I am doing my best to. The main things that Dad was about was don't say you can't or don't believe you can't. Don't hate and don't lie. And those were the first 3 of the first 4 butt whoopings I got was for saying can't, hate, and not telling the truth. Now, I go about disciplining my children differently than my dad disciplined us, but boy, I still want to instill those three values. And I now know getting older what Dad was, why he was pushing those. Why those were dirty words. Why can't and hate were dirtier words than damn and F-bomb and S-H-I-T. Because they would have, if you live thinking that you can't do stuff or live hating, you're going to have a tough life, a tougher life than you would have going into the world feeling that way. So he was pounding those literally sometimes out of me and his and my brothers. You know what I mean? You can have trouble, but never believe you can't. And he would prove it to us. Can't was a dirty word, and you'd say it, and you'd see his old molars meet, and you'd be like, oh, I'm having trouble, Pop. I'm having trouble. He's like, there we go. And he proved it over and over, because if we were unable to do something, he would then either come help us, fix it, and go, see, you were just having trouble. Great lesson. The other one was hate. Well, you look at that. Don't hate. That's a pretty good one. So what's the opposite of that? Love. Okay, let's take that into the world. Now, yes, love has teeth and the truth burns and love's hard, but don't hate. You don't need to go through this world hating. So I don't remember any of the butt whoopings. I just remember going, oh, that's the value to be instilled, or lie, or tell the truth and don't lie. That's a good one. So those are 3 values I'm trying to instill in my kids differently go about instilling them differently than my parents did or he did, but I still believe in them wholeheartedly, and hopefully my kids will get it, and they'll be able to go out and negotiate the real world when they're out of the house pretty well.
And that's what I love, because a lot of us, like myself, growing up here on the south side of San Antonio, I mean, I got the belt, okay?
Right.
And that's how it was. And so it's nice reading the rawness in the book.
Do you judge that? Because I get asked, like, oh my gosh, you must, because some people come up and go, oh my God, so you must have felt they were so wrong to do that. I'm like, no, I'm not judging that at all. Mm-hmm. Actually, in some ways, I get what they were saying. Hey, let's get it over with. And I don't remember, I was never injured. It just kind of sucked at the time. You're like, ow, but it was over with at least.
Right.
You know?
It's like what you said. They didn't want to waste their time putting you in timeout. It's like, now, here you go. Learn your lesson. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.